Fresh and Untitled.
We interrupt our program to bring you a special broadcast.
I think we're not very professional today. We're very unprepared.
Yeah, very unprepared. You could make just a very unprepared thing.
So here we go in our very unprepared interview with Adrian Chamberlin. Hello, Adrian.
Hello there. Just, can you see me?
Okay.
See, we have to rely on me because Irish Internet is super awesome. Irish Internet's never going to sponsor us, by the way.
Do we want them to?
He's hitting it. I can hear it. I don't think hitting it's going to work.
It says nope still here.
There he is.
There he is.
Okay, 2 participants.
And what were you saying about Irish Internet?
Where would you tell someone that was thinking about self-publishing, where would you tell them to put the money? Because you have so many options. You have layout, you have artwork, you have editing, you have what you have to pay for CreateSpace, the ISBN numbers. I mean, there's so many different costs that can be accrued. A lot of people, you can cut certain corners. From your experience, what are the 2 corners or 1 corner, the main corner, whatever you want, that should never, ever be cut?
2 areas you'll never cut back on is editing and artwork. It's the artwork that is going to attract people to your work. It is the editing that makes the story inside as good as the artwork and make it fulfill its promise. The editing is the hardest and the most expensive investment, and it is an investment. So choose your editor wisely. Seriously, choose them wisely.
Make like a clarification here? And there, people get very confused, I'm learning, between editor, proofreader, beta reader. They get very confused, and some people are actually getting taken advantage of. They'll say, okay, give me $200 and I will proofread your book, or I will beta read your book.
Well,
and they imply that it's going to...
Those people need to be driven off a cliff, because those are evil bastards taking advantage. A beta read is something your mates do for you.
Right?
Yeah.
So, right, I'll read it and give you some feedback. And sometimes they can be more constructive than an editor, but no one charges for it. Proofreading comes after the editing. Absolutely.
Right.
So,
and then the editing, for me, I mean, I see people that are like, oh, $200 and I'll edit your 80,000 word story. That's way low. For anybody watching, that's way low. You're not going to get a quality edit in any way, shape, or form. You're going to get someone who might correct a few commas and whatever. That's about it. But then there are people that are really going to try and screw you over, and they're going to say, oh, you need a full-on this, that, and the other. It's going to be $3,000. There is that happy medium. And yes, editors are expensive when you're getting one, but you have to check their resume. You have to check their referrals, the credentials. What have they published? Have they been published? And why are they charging you $3,000? Like, what are you getting from that? If you're just getting one initial read-through edit, you're getting taken advantage of.
Well, thankfully, with the internet, a bad reputation will get around. Most people starting off, when they're going to look for an editor, they will, they'll have the savvy to do the research and think, okay, what's this guy like?
A lot of people don't. That's the problem.
Well, Google is your friend. Google is your friend. It's not paying its UK taxes, but it's still a good friend. Because you've had input from a professional editor and making you look at the structure and themes of what you're writing, it's it's a bit of a mindfuck at times because, as you say, the amount of words you're putting down, the amount of chapters you're writing, that's all secondary. It's how the story is developing.
I always have like a notebook somewhere by me, and I'm always thinking like, okay, for the next book I want to have this in my mind. And so while I'm watching TV, making dinner, doing laundry, folding laundry, whatever, something will pop into my head and I'll be like, oh, why would this character do that? This is a perfect reason why. And I'll write it down. And so when I go to actually sit down and write this second book, I've got a spiral full of character arc, character motivation, world building, so on and so forth, that makes it easier. Might not make it a shorter thing to write, but it makes it easier to write, because I never used to think in the way that she's taught me to think, like what motivates your character to go from this arc in the beginning to where he ends up in the end. And I never thought of the town or the location as a character. You know, and she made it very clear that, like, you have to bring that to life. You have to make them love this place that this person lives in, this city, this town, whatever, you know, get them to know it and they feel familiar with the mailman, the donut shop, the diner, whatever it is. And so it's just learning how to incorporate a lot of that. It's interesting. It's hard. And so it really kind of slows you down. It slows me down.
You're very fortunate in that, in the fact that you've had that. It's because a lot of us still, you know, slogging away in the trenches of the small press. We're concentrating on writing what we can as best we can, meeting certain deadlines and targets. But when you get to that next level, when you step up to the professionals, the big boys, and you're being told you actually have to rethink, as Yoda said, unlearn everything you've done. All these golden rules that we stuck so steadfastly with, you have to unlearn them. They're just completely out the window now because it's a totally different field. About the publishing, I would say don't rush to get it out there.
If you're not certain, don't do it. Like, I mean, are you that eager to have the book out? Like, if you really, really want it out that bad, like, just put it up in fucking Smashwords or something, do you know what I mean? Like, if you really don't fucking care that much about it.
It's this idea of being accepted by a publisher, though, isn't it? And when you're starting off in your career, you're not quite savvy about all the small presses and the differences between them and even the mid-level presses. And a lot of people think, okay, it's a small press, but it still means someone else has decided it's good enough to be published, without realising that a lot of the small presses now, they're using the same tools, the same marketing techniques that self-publishers have. You've got all the technology now where you can get your masterpiece out in the world within an instant. Take your time, and remember there is one writer's adage which I firmly believe in when they say there's one thing worse than not being published. Stop giggling.
You froze again.
You froze again. I'm trying to imitate your face.
Advice is being given here, and I am being dismissed in a most discourteous manner. Well, I'm going to keep my writing advice to myself.
Well, it's negative, and anybody listening to it would go kill themselves.
You're just frozen.
Really, anyone still watching this after what you two have been doing? The main thing about the differences between editing, now we've seen the rise of small press and indie publishing. We do forget that what a lot of the major publishers offered, when it came to editing, you would have a structural edit, you'd have your line edits, then you'd have your proofing afterwards. There were at least three stages. Now, when you're a small press editor, you are pretty much doing all of it. You're doing structural and line editing. So, and no one person can do all those jobs successfully. They really can't. As I said, I mean, last year I edited the novella collection after the war. So in terms of structural editing, I didn't have to do too much because we're all professional writers, and I'm getting giggled at for some reason. What is Fresh and Untitled strapline? Not a professional. Well, we see the bloody proof, don't we?
Adrian, if you could see right now how your face is frozen, it's like this. Like you're blowing a kiss.
You're just puckering up for a big old smacker.
Beware of editors. They will promise the world, and they will only offer you the puckered lips of their ass.
Yeah, no, like my experience with small presses is that you can have a family out of it. Big presses, just rude. It's just rude and me.
So the small presses, they have the passion, and they're more willing to take the risks, but they don't have the marketing clout to polish a turd like they do with 50 Shades of Grey. So have you noticed, obviously the last few years now, the artwork, or, well, I wouldn't even call it artwork, but the cover illustration has been fucking rubbish for a lot of books, a lot of authors, a lot of genres. Gone are the days where, you know, they would actually commission decent artists to do, you know, something original and something very eye-catching. Nowadays, it's a lot of sort of Getty, because you look at the back cover.
It's stock photo.
And, you know, it'll say cover credits, blah, 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 Getty Images. And they just got some intern to slap some bollocks on it with Photoshop on something from Getty Images. And most times, yeah, it's reasonable, but it's nothing inspiring. And you look at it and think, there's nothing there. It's absolute rubbish. And it's not just horror books. I've seen it on fiction books. I've seen it on historical books as well. In actual fact, a lot of historical fiction, probably one of the few ones that used to invest in decent cover art, but now they don't even do that. Bernard Cornwell's last books are just fucking rubbish. So it's some of the small presses, the ones that still actually invest in cover art.
I have a favorite author other than Jasper Ford. You know who it is. And I recently read his newest contribution. I found, on average, 5 to 7 major spelling or grammatical errors per chapter. Sometimes it was every single page. I know if I had Emma or you beta read a book for me, you would have caught 90% of those errors. So this, to me, it shows someone who's got a big name, who sells a lot of books, and they cut a very big corner, either in the proofreading or in the editing stage. I don't know which one, and it snowballed from there, and there was no quality control. So he, who actually takes pride in his writing, he would rather go to the publisher and say, hey, you need to fix this. I'm going to tell my entire reading audience that I am sorry, I apologize. And he's going to take that abuse from them, and he did it with a smile, because he knows that, like, in the end, it's his bad.
Yeah.
Even though it's really not. It's the publisher and the editor, but, you know, he gets all the flack.
It's very strange because this is one reason to aim for a mainstream Big Five publisher, because you know, right, or you think you know, that the editing, and they will turn it out as best it can possibly be. So when it comes out with this amount of errors, you just know it's obviously the case of they farmed it off to a freelancer. There's been, as you say, no quality control, and it does seem like now gone are the days where a lot of publishers would have a proper in-house editorial scheme.
Yeah.
They will go for freelancers, but which I can understand, cutting costs, but with the freelancers, there's still got to be someone at the end of the day checking it before it goes to bloody proof. And
well, that's
with that amount of errors, it's just unforgivable.
Well, isn't that why
even the small presses wouldn't have that amount of errors in them.
No,
you know,
never.
But isn't that why we go to the big house publishers? It's for the expensive editing that we can't pay for to do it ourselves on Creative Space. Yeah. Isn't it for the really great covers that if you go to a big house publisher, you've got no fucking say, and they're just going to do it in black and white and red, so everything looks like fucking Twilight, and or grey and black and white, so everything looks like 50 Shades of Grey, and they don't do that anymore. So
yeah,
it baffles me why we still want the big house publishing thing. And it is mostly for me. It's so that my books are in every bookshop and that I don't have to do anything about it. They're there, and that's it. somebody can walk in the door and find it. They don't have to ask for it, and then it has to be ordered through and blah, 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 and all this crap. But that makes it easier on the authors, less marketing on the authors. But there's so many cushy things I found in small press that, you know, that you can basically decide what your cover is. If you want to draw your cover, you can. It's that simple. I can try get away with that with a big house publisher. It's like, no, it doesn't look like 50 Shades of Grey, or it doesn't look like Twilight, or Harry Potter, or something else that's selling shitloads of money now.
The only reason to go with them is because, there's still that hankering for all of us, you know, to be with a mainstream publisher, because that is the ultimate acceptance of our work, that a mainstream publisher, a massive player in a publishing industry, has said, yes, your book is good enough for us to pour a load of money on. And as I said, you know, when they sort of cut corners, well, I say cut corners on editing, when they absolutely do fuck all editing like that, it's just unforgivable. The only...
Well, they're just getting greedy, though. That's the thing. Because, look, when you go to Amazon, at least here, okay, when I go to Amazon and I see the hardcover on sale for $14.97 and I see the Kindle version for $12.99, well, gee, you know, I'm going to get the fucking hardcover. Like, it's a no-brainer. You know, it's free shipping, it's $2 more, and I have a physical copy. Yeah. Why the ebook prices for these mainstream publishers are so high is beyond me. There's no shipping, there's no paper, there's no printing. So they had to pay someone to format it one time.
Yeah. I don't know if it's his blog or someone else's that was talking about exclusivity clauses and the way that a lot of the mainstream publishers now are trying to tie writers up in knots, because it used to be a case of a publisher would see potential, think, yeah, you've got a bloody good book here, we want to see what else you can do, and they would invest. They would know that the first novel, you know, would be a steady seller, but it wouldn't be an overnight smash. And it said that now we've moved away from that. It's not just because of the decline of the mid-list and genre. It's now what they will look for is a breakout novel, an instant breakout novel, and they will look for the novel and bollocks to everything else. But just on the off chance that you might actually be a good writer and that you might actually have potential for future, they tie you up with all sorts of clauses. And one of the things is it's certain things like things we already know they've been trying to get away with. Things like making sure that you give away your film and audiobook and even comic book rights. Whereas in the past, you know, publishers wouldn't even look at those. Film rights always remain.
No, but you don't give those up now. Like, if that's in the contract, you have every right to have it be taken out if you have a good agent.
Exactly. But even if you're taken on by a mainstream publisher during one of their open submission periods and they try and fuck you over with all this, he actually said this, look, it's not cast in stone. A contract terms are there to be negotiated. And you got there and you say, no, you're not having this, you're not having that. Oh, well, we won't publish it then. Well, fine, fuck you. I'll take it somewhere else. It's like I was saying earlier. The one thing worse than being unpublished is being badly published. But a lot of people would go for that, especially if it was from a mainstream publisher, because they think, this is the golden grail. This is what I've been looking for all my life. It can't be that bad, surely. It can't be that bad. No, I'll sign and just hope for the best. And it's only when, you know, you start writing different things and, well, it's totally different to what I've been writing. They have first refusal on it. If they don't want it, fair enough. I'll shop it around somewhere else. Then find out what the exclusivity clause means. They are physically and legally prevented from shopping it to any other publisher.
The top things to look at in a contract, whether it's a self-publishing, a small press or a big press, and one of them was a movie thing. It's nope, you don't have to give that up. You don't have to give up movie, TV, film, play, comic, nothing. Like, they have no business taking that. They have no business copywriting your characters. They can't make it a shared world thing where if they have another writer they think would make a great sequel that they can do it. No, there's a lot of things that like they try and sneak past. And that's why it's very important, because even with a small press, I think that if you're going to go with a small press, the ones that are surviving are the ones that make the rights grabs to everything that they possibly can. And so you have to be very careful with that. And if you decide to go with an agent, to go with a bigger press, you need to make sure you have a good agent. You know, not someone that's just like fresh out of college and like so eager that they're going to make you sign whatever contract comes across their desk at the first offer, you know? Like, you may turn down the first 10 publishers that want to write you because, no, I don't agree with that contract. And I think it's a matter of choice because, like Emma, she's comfortable with the small press because, you know, she can pick a cover, she can do this, that, and the other. For me, the small press I was with, I didn't get that opportunity. I could not pick my cover. I could not do anything. And I was very much screwed over by my publisher, and I did not enjoy that one bit. And so now I hear small press, and I literally, like, I physically want to run away. And so, yeah, I'm going for an agent. Am I going to get one? Probably not. But
not with that attitude you won't anyway.
What I'm saying is I would, like Adrian said, being not published or published poorly, I would rather not be published and reach for the brass ring than settle for being published the way I was before, because that, like, it's heartbreaking, Emma. Like, I don't know how to explain it to you. It's utterly heartbreaking to see something you put so much work and effort and part of your soul into just, like, shit on.
Cunt wumbling fuck nugget.
Good job, guys.